Welcome to the Well-Oiled Canine Podcast, where your dog's health is our top priority. I'm Dana Brigman, a canine nutritionist and certified holistic pet health coach, specializing in aromatherapy, homeopathy, and herbs. Join me on a mission to help your dog eat better, feel better, and live longer. Now let's dive into a world of natural pet care and discover the secrets to a happier, healthier pup. Visit me at welloiledcanine.com. I'm Dana Brigman from the Well-Oiled Canine, and we've got Angela Keith from 456 Canine Wellness Coaching. Is that right? I never get it right.
Just 456 Canine Coach.
There we go. Okay. And so we are two canine behaviorists and nutrition experts and do all things natural wellness when we can. And we like to collaborate and help pet parents learn a little bit more about putting all of these things together. So this is number 2 in our new series of podcasts. And today we're going to be talking about behavior changes out of the blue, which in my opinion, there is no such thing. So what do you think about that topic of out of the blue?
Yeah, out of the blue is a pretty common complaint.
Yep.
A lot of it is just people don't know how to read the signs.
Mm-hmm.
So if I do get a consult for some out of the blue behavior, like I back them all the way up and I say, okay, what's changed? Because we sometimes forget that our pets are just as sensitive as we are to change and stuff in the environment and food and everything.
Correct. Absolutely. I actually got an inquiry just this morning where the family has moved, and now the dog is showing some pretty severe aggressive behavior towards even family members. And so you can kind of look at that and go, it's new behavior, but you got to step back and go, what's changed?
Yeah.
And, one of the things that I'm picking up on, even from just the inquiry, is that this dog used to have freedom to run, had a fenced in yard, and seemed to have a lot more activity. And now they're saying he's never been good to walk on a leash, so they don't walk him. So I feel like he's not getting any exercise.
Yeah.
Which is going to start to affect the dog's state of mind, and that can lead to some behavioral issues for sure.
Yep.
So I'm sure you've seen that kind of thing as well. I also noted in there that this is a pretty large dog that's eating Beneful. So for me, I also look at, how old is this dog? What has been building inside the body in terms of vaccines and nutrition or lack thereof, or synthetic vitamins and minerals in these types of food, the toxin load from just everyday life, and how all that can start to build up. And we talk a lot about aggression or anger being stored in the liver. So to me, that's sort of place one to start. And even looking at like even at like a medical checkup to make sure there's not something else brewing in their health.
Yeah, for sure. And even when you have a dog like that all of these things are just sort of building inside of him, and then you do something stressful like move and the body goes into crisis mode. Well, now those things that you weren't really seeing as being symptomatic, now they all come to light because the dog's just under stress.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Moving is a big one. Having babies is
huge.
Really hard for dogs to understand.
Because the dog may have been the first baby, right?
Yep.
And now is taking a back seat in attention, in time, in many aspects, and go, hey, wait a minute, what the heck just happened here?
Yep. And it's finally slowing down, but after COVID, after everybody started going back to work, people were having a lot of problems because dogs weren't acclimating well to, hey, you were here with me all day long. Why are you gone 10 hours a day?
Mhm.
So you saw lots of behavioral issues, separation anxiety, quit not eating, aggression, just because, oh, hey, well, now I've got all this pent up energy because I've been storing it for 10 hours. Let's do something crazy.
Yeah. So where do you start? Like, we've moved, dog's not getting any exercise. What's your first step, to help guide the people?
I go back to my rescue roots. And
Okay.
in rescue, when you do an adoption or even when you pull a new foster dog out of the shelter and put him in a home, we do what we talk about as a 2 week decompression.
Mm-hmm.
Just reset the give the dogs a reset. 2 week decompression is a lot about, okay, let's let them observe but not expect them to know what to do in this moment, whether it be crating or tethering, something like that. And then you help them understand, okay, here's the new routine, here's what happens in this new house. It's like moving to a new school district and you just toss your kid and a new kindergarten halfway through the year and go, all right, buddy, good luck.
And he's like, but my friends, I don't, where
Yeah,
are
like
they?
I don't know this place, there's new
Exactly.
neighbors, there's new smells, unless it's a brand new house, there's been someone living in it before, potentially pets that leave behind smells. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
a good
really
point.
overwhelming. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just take them back to the basics, give them 2 weeks, reset. Don't expect anything from your dog except to just watch and observe because
Hmm.
they will learn by acclimation. And
Yeah.
then walk them through the steps of, okay, here's how you start introducing more freedom and expectations and stuff like that.
Yeah. And get back to the basics of leadership. Put some rules in place, put some
Yeah.
structure in place. And those words, rules and structure, sometimes freak people out. It doesn't mean we're punitive to the dog,
Yeah.
right? It just means I am setting some boundaries and this is your expectation. I'm going to hold you accountable to but I'm going to teach you how to do it too.
Yeah.
And,
And
so
really
don't
it's
go
just
ahead.
communication. By
Sure.
setting boundaries and being a leader, it's more so saying, all right, I have a way to talk to you. I'm going to tell you what I need you to do instead of, just expecting that our dogs should know what we want them to do.
Right. And I think people also have to understand that there's a time investment that has to be, right. So your dog is saying right now, I'm struggling. Something has changed. Either this environment is wigging me out, or I don't feel good, or something's different. And we can't expect to do now what we've always done because the dog needs something new from us. And there's going to be a time investment and maybe some changes in our own behavior that we have to consider and implement. We can't just say, fix the dog. We may have to fix the dynamics of all the beings that are integrated together.
Yeah. You know what we need? We have protocols for people with having babies to start ahead of time. We need a moving protocol for people to prepare their pets for something like that.
Sure,
It doesn't get
absolutely.
that doesn't get talked about at all as far as I'm aware. Like it's
Yeah.
always after the fact type of situation.
And it's interesting, the area here. So I'm in North Myrtle Beach. I don't know, and it may be you may be seeing more of this now, but I see a lot of relocating people. They're retirement age or they're moving from up north to be more economical environment, whatever the reason is, but there is a lot of people moving into my area.
Yeah, it's the
And
same here. You have military here too. So
oh
I'm
yeah,
between beach and military. It's very transient.
there you go. And so I don't think people often consider what impact will this have on my dog.
Yeah.
And honestly, it never crossed my mind, and I've done this a lot of years until you just said it. We move a dog into a house where another dog used to live. What does that smell like? Or cat pee in the floor? What and how now does that dog interpret that? And what are they thinking about? Okay, I smell it, but where is it? And so is he confused about that sort of thing? So
Yeah.
that had never crossed my mind.
Well, and I even think about like previous dogs' pheromones like fear, because when the previous dog saw
Right.
everything being packed up, they're emitting fearful pheromones. The next dog's going to pick up on that too.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Yeah. And then the thing that I see a lot is we had this big acreage or land, or dog had a fenced in yard, and now I'm in a townhouse or a
Yeah.
condo or a beach property
Yep.
that does not have a fence at all. And suddenly my dog, who is, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years old, never had to go for leash walks, and they're terrible on the leash. And so because they're terrible, I don't take them for a walk. And now we've got anxiety building, and that's where the behavior challenges start to come from.
Yep. And your working breeds, that's a whole nother conversation, but working breeds in apartments and townhouses is disheartening, honestly.
Oh, I know. I've seen, so I can give you a couple of examples and share yours too. But I guess it's been a couple of years. This lady called, and it's a very senior citizen woman, and so much so that it was her daughter who called me, right? The lady didn't actually make the phone call.
Yeah.
Her daughter called because they had a dog that had moved from acreage to a condo with just a little courtyard, but the lady couldn't take the dog for, I mean, she was a very senior citizen. Well, this dog was a blue heeler, right?
Mm.
They had bought the mom a young blue heeler and said to me, um, we've had blue heelers all our life. And I jokingly said, on the farm? And they're like, well, yes. And I'm like, but you're not on the farm anymore, right? So just because that breed matched your lifestyle then does not mean that breed is going to be happy or capable of even functioning well in this new environment. A blue heeler is not going to be successful in a condo when it cannot get the physical outlet and the what I call the instincts of the breed, even if they're simulated through gameplay. If you can't do that, that dog's going to go crazy.
Yeah. And complete opposite. He was actually he just boarded with me over the weekend, but he's about 180-pound Rottweiler named Biggie. And he grew up in Brooklyn. So he grew up surrounded by concrete, and he was reactive. So he didn't go for a lot of walks. When they did, it was like really early in the morning or really late at night. So he wasn't learning how to be comfortable around strangers walking by. And then they moved down here to the beach. And now he's got a big fenced in yard and he doesn't know what to do with all that space. So the opposite is happening. Instead of bringing them from the farm, to a smaller space, we're bringing them from a smaller space to a bigger space and going, okay, have fun. But they've never seen it before. And they're like, what am I supposed to do with all this freedom? He was
Right.
he's friends with his neighbors now. He can go for walks around the neighborhood and is comfortable and not freaking out at every passing car or lawnmower. So a lot of work, and giving mom confidence too, that if you're confident in him, he'll be confident in what you're doing together.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Um, Shifting gears just a little bit, one of the things that I look at too when somebody calls and says, I've never had a behavioral problem with this dog before, and now it's out of the blue to see this aggression or anxiety. And I'm like, you had a medical workup. When's the last time
Yeah.
you had a medical workup, right? And so sometimes there are health issues at play that may not be well recognized. Or like I said, there could be these years of buildup of vaccines and flea and tick meds and fertilizers in the yard that are now starting to affect the liver or the overall immune system, health of the body, that kind of thing. And so if we get medical clearance, which is one thing that I want to see, then I'm going to start with the detox protocols, and I'm going to look very closely at food, plug-ins, use of flea and tick meds and things of that nature. I'm assuming you do the same.
Yeah.
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 So
A
have
lot of
you,
my clients are board and trained, so I'm not usually in their homes until after I've done training.
Mhm.
So I sort of see some of it at the end, but we definitely have that conversation at some point. It's just not usually in the beginning, I think, like yours probably is.
Yeah. So when I was doing board and train, one of the things I shifted was to sort of have, even if it was virtual, that wellness conversation up front
Mm-hmm.
and get them started on food changes and the detox protocol. Because I've seen sometimes that alone work,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep.
don't want to take money out of your pocket for your board and train.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have seen that work. And I'm hoping that you and I can start to influence even other trainers to consider those steps as part of their options, and we collaborate with them in some way, not
Yeah.
compete, but collaborate and really come at this with a whole dog approach to
Yeah.
getting those
The trainers
resolutions.
that I've talked to are actually excited about the possibility and on board with it, saying, we recognize that our clients need help in these areas, but we don't
Right.
know as much as you do. We would love to be able to, once we bring a client on board for training, have them consult with you also, so that we are addressing the whole dog and not just obedience type stuff.
Yeah, no, I met with and I'm trying to meet with more local trainers down here too. I met with one last week. We had breakfast and I said, look, if you get a couple of cases, just loop me in, right? I'm not going to charge that trainer for the consult, but to give them an opportunity to kind of hear how it goes and to see it get implemented and, collaborate with them, supporting them in that. um, I want to offer that to any trainer right now and, see how we can start helping them understand more about that.
Yep.
So, any other thoughts on this topic or the out of the blue theory?
We talked about the medical. And sometimes people get excited that, well, not excited, they're hopeful that it is a medical issue sometimes, and it's not something behavioral that we have to address. And they get lucky occasionally, and it is something. We find out the dog's really arthritic, which is causing them to be sensitive to touch, and that's why they snapped at somebody. I've worked with people whose dogs just have constant ear infections and get upset when people are patting their head too long and they think it's
Right.
reactivity. But at the end of the day, it's those ears cause pain. And the longer you sit there and rub my head, the more I'm thinking about that pain it caused me.
Mm-hmm.
I think do you remember Biggie, the Mastiff, that we
Mm-hmm.
sort of
Yeah.
both, that's what ended up being Biggie's biggest problem, was the chronic ear infections, and he was associating that pain to people touching his head. So he got really weird if you tried to pat his head, but if you patted him anywhere else, because he wanted the pets,
Mm-hmm.
as long as you stayed away from his head, he was totally happy. They did, I think they did like half of a food change. They're doing
Right.
like half prepared and half kibble. But I've boarded him a few times, and he's a happy guy now. He has fun here. He likes to play with the dogs.
That's great. And I think sometimes too, because the aggression is sometimes between the two dogs, right? Like two dogs
Yeah,
in the house all of a sudden are no longer getting along.
right.
And one of the things that I look at often is, like the aging process. And again, I think there's some medical to that. There's maybe some pain to that.
Yeah.
But there's also times when the other dog is picking up on a health issue that has not yet been identified,
Right. Yeah.
right? And because of that, they start behaving differently towards the other animal, the one that has the health issue.
Yeah.
So it may not be dog A has a health issue and becomes aggressive. Dog B may have a health issue and dog A has figured it out and it's like something's wrong in the pack.
Yep.
And now I'm going to be aloof, or, you know, I've seen that happen.
Or even depending on the breed, they can become more like, okay, well, you're a weak link.
Right.
So we
Exactly.
need to control you. It becomes sort of a more assertive behavior than an avoidance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then bringing in a new dog to the home, we often just open the door and say, welcome in, I've adopted you a friend. Right.
Yes.
And so there's a couple of layers to that. One is we have a senior dog who we think is lonely because maybe their companion died or they're just getting older or whatever. And we're going to bring in a new companion, and we bring in this young whippersnapper, right? And the old dog is like, yeah, no. And so that creates some incompatibility that we thought, oh, we're bringing you a friend. It's all going to be great. And it's the same breed and blah, blah, blah. And it does not go well in all cases.
Rarely. Some people get really lucky, and I'm happy for them.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So, and then there are times we just bring a dog in and we don't go through that acclimation, decompression phase that you were talking about, where the new one had to learn lay of the land, and he just comes in and decides I'm in charge, right? And that can create some issues. And so we often think, oh, it's out of the blue. He didn't have this problem in his past foster home.
Right.
Right. We did not see that behavior in the shelter, whatever those things are. And when we bring him in and open the door and say, welcome in, with no discipline and no boundaries, he's like, oh, nobody else is in charge, so I guess I will be. And now we've got some challenges on our hands.
Yep. And it's getting even further off topic, but something for us to remember for later is bringing a new dog in when your current dog already has behavior issues, and you think that bringing a new dog in is going to calm them down or make them less anxious. And so that's a whole nother bag of worms.
There are many bags of worms. Right?
But I think it would be a good topic to talk about too
Yeah.
on a later podcast.
Yeah. So when you have these cases, any of the ones we've been talking about, and you go in, for your first consultation or your eval, what expectations would you like to set for pet parents who are facing this, or who are reaching out to trainers and behaviorists like you and me? What's the process going to be
like? The first thing that I always bring to light is this isn't going to be an overnight fix.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's not going to be a training issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to set the precedent that way and say, okay, let's talk through some things. You're going to have some homework. It may be a week's worth of homework. It may be 3 weeks worth of homework, but we need to do this homework before we decide how to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of weed people out too, because they don't do the homework and then you never hear from them again.
True.
Or they're really committed to helping their dog and making change, and they do all the things you ask, and they come back, and hopefully a lot of times the problem has solved itself, or now we have a better understanding of what does this dog need to succeed now that we've made these changes.
Yeah. And I would just say, um, it doesn't always have to be complicated. It could just be getting back to the basics,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Teach your dog the place command, teach your dog a downstay, and not as a trick, right? It's not just to earn a treat, it's for duration, it's for sitting back and observing, to put dogs in a downstay, dogs in a place command, and the other dog is doing something different, and or the kids are doing something different. And claim that leadership, but get those obedience skills in place.
Yep.
And once the dog has leadership and starts to understand the lay of the land and some new structure, then that's often what they need. Because if they're in charge and not qualified to be, that's where we start to have a lot of drama on
Yep.
our hands.
Yep. And I'm a stickler too about crate training. That's actually one of the first things I will ask someone, is your dog crate trained? And if the answer is no, that's one of the number one things you need to work on, because dogs need timeout. They need naps. They need breaks. They can't go all day long like an adult human can. And
Right.
you need to be able to put them in a crate, put them in a room and say, okay, it's nap time, 2 hours. And I bet you when they wake up, they're going to make better decisions.
Yeah. And I will also say, I tell people pretty often, your dog does not need to greet the handyman or the pest
Right.
control guy that's here, or, whatever. And especially if you're starting to see what the pet parent is describing as unpredictable or new behaviors.
Yeah.
Um, just because they've always done it doesn't mean we shouldn't change the rules. And if somebody's coming to visit, friend, family, or service worker, that dog needs to be crated.
Yep.
It's
I've
just
got a
safer for
little,
everybody.
it is. I mean, crating is a life skill. It's
Yeah,
not cruel. It's not like these ASPCA commercials where you see dogs living in crates and feces. It's not that.
right.
It's just like putting your toddler down for a nap at noon. Um,
Right.
but I've got a foster dog right now, and great little dog. His obedience is on par. He walks well on a leash. He doesn't do good with people entering the house. So all you have to do for him is put him in his crate, or keep him on a leash and tether him. And if he has 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it may be, how chaotic the entrance is, and all the excitement dies down and you let him out, and he's totally fine. But his previous owner couldn't commit to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, now he's got a bite record
Oh, no.
because of this.
Right.
And now he's in rescue. And now it's, he's not an easy placement because the rules are very strict for him. Hey, if you're
Yeah.
having company, he's got to be on a leash or in a crate. And
There's a
to us, that
really good,
seems so simple.
right. There's a really good post I read, and I think her name is Linda, and I don't know where she's located, but her business is Lionhearted Canine, Lionheart Canine, or something like that. But she writes these fabulous, I'm going to hit you in the face and tell you the truth about your own behavior as a human. I love her, right? But her post this week was, your dog's behavior is your responsibility.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And we often blame the dog. The dog did something, the dog changed, the dog, and not, we failed to put the dog in the crate when the handyman was here.
Yep.
Right. And it's just, I mean, she will punch you right in the face in her writing. And she's just fantastic about that. But even Poppy, so Poppy she loves everybody. She's very well behaved. She's 10 years old. She lives with me. I'm a trainer. I've done this for years. She doesn't greet the handyman or the air condition guy or the whatever when they come over. She just doesn't,
Yep.
because they may have fear, right, of an experience that they've had that I don't know about that in some way is triggering for them.
Mhm.
Their behavior could be problematic for her, that she's never experienced somebody who's fearful of dog. There's all sorts of things to consider. So just because you think your dog is well behaved doesn't mean there won't be an incident of some sort for someone.
Yep. And at the end of the day, they're dogs.
They're animals. Yes, right. And little dogs are sometimes the worst. Yes, I said
Yes.
it.
Gizmo, Jack Russell Terrier, Foster.
Yes. All right, my friend. Well, this is fantastic. What's to add?
Uh, I don't think so.
All
Good,
right.
good conversation. And we got some topics to
Yeah.
out of this one to keep going with. And I'd love feedback from anybody when you do listen to our podcast and it makes you think of something else that you want us to discuss. Let us know because, we just kind of tangent on things.
Right. And any topic, if you have questions or you want to send an email with a scenario that people would like feedback on, just shoot it over our way and we'll cover it. We'll work
Yeah.
on those topics. So tell people how to reach you.
So to get a hold of me right now is going to be email. So number 4, number 5, number 6, caninecoach@gmail.com.
Great. Awesome. And it's Angela Keith, and she is based in Wilmington. She does a lot of board and train and one-on-one training in those areas surrounding Wilmington and Hampstead. But you're doing Zoom calls now too as well, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And then Angela is also very well versed in the nutrition and essential oils like I am. And we collaborate and partner with each other all the time on cases. So we'll get both of us sometimes.
Yep.
All right, my friend. Well, this was great. I appreciate your time and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Well-Oiled Canine Podcast. I'm Dana Brigman, your canine nutritionist and certified holistic pet health coach. I hope you found today's episode valuable and inspiring for your journey towards better health for your dog. Don't forget to visit me at theweloiledcanine.com and check out our members forum for lots of discussions, interactions, education that you won't find anywhere else. That's at members.weloiledcanine.com. So join the community. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps me reach more pet parents just like you.